Good morning. Thanks for joining us here on Breakfast Television. We have a couple cyclists just going past here. I'm going to let them pass safely. Good morning. Enjoy, I will. The sun is shining. It is a great morning to be out here. However, there will be many BC Ferries passengers that are very tired this morning. We've already spoken to one. Why? Because the Coastal Renaissance broke down last night. By the way, the vessel is back in service this morning and actually just left here from Tsawwassen, headed back to Duke Point. So what happened? Well, I've spoken to a couple of passengers. It was the 8:15 sailing last night, left Duke Point, roughly only 5 to 6 minutes into the sailing. 3 horns sounded. The engines came to a halt, and the ferry just sat there for hours, roughly 4 hours or more, before 3 tugboats eventually arrived and towed the ferry back to Duke Point, arriving back at the terminal roughly at 2 a.m. in the morning. A number of passengers stuck in their vehicles overnight. Some foot passengers spent the night at the terminal. Gloria is one of them, and she commends BC Ferries, saying the communication went well. They offered coffee, hot chocolate, tea, and some sandwiches as well. She plans on sleeping a lot today.
The boat all of a sudden stopped. The captain came on and said they've got engine trouble. Then he came on a little while later. They kept notifying us whatever any problems were, and he said the breaker was fused, and they were having the engineers work on it. And then basically, you know, they kept updating us. Then the tugs came, and by the time we actually got back into Nanaimo, it was 2 o'clock in the morning.
Coastal Renaissance experienced a mechanical failure due to an electrical issue shortly after departing Sunday evening, and it had to anchor off of Jack Point around 8:30 p.m. Sunday night. The vessel was brought back to Duke Point via tug, and the tug arrived on scene around 10:30. We did have passengers on board, and while they were on board and as we were bringing them back to Duke Point, we provided them with complimentary food and beverages. There was a sailing cancellation out of Tsawwassen last night, too. The Coastal Renaissance would have done a round trip, so the 10:45 sailing departing Tsawwassen was canceled, and customers at Tsawwassen who planned to travel through Duke Point, they were given the option to travel through Swartz Bay instead.
And what's interesting here is the different take among passengers. Gloria, quite complimentary about BC Ferries, saying the communication went well, and she figures she believes the situation was handled the best that BC Ferries could. However, Aaron, I spoke to on the phone, and those photos of the tugboats were from him. He said he got about an hour's sleep in his vehicle. He's still waiting to come back from Duke Point to here to Tsawwassen, and he wasn't happy with the way the situation was handled, saying the communication could have been better, and BC Ferries could have offered more. Mary?
Interesting. Sounds like quite the experience, and it looks like maybe the foot passengers had it better off. Who knows? All right. Thank you so much, Greg.
Be a different experience.
Yeah. 8:33 now on Breakfast Television.